Welcome back to my Pokémon Platinum Hardcore Nuzlocke walkthrough. In the last episode, we covered a ton of new routes and areas, from the sandy shores of Route 213 to the unforgiving swamp that is the Great Marsh. Our visit to Pastoria was very eventful overall, as we unlocked some sweet features such as the move reminder, we obtained our 5th gym badge from the legendary Crasher Wake, and a bomb went off right outside of town. We left off with a couple of fantastic money-making options over on Route 212, and now it's time to move on to Celestic Town, where some incredible pickups await. The road from Gen 4 Casual to Platinum Master continues. Let's do this. After checking on our berries and doing the usual Pastoria dailies, we fly over to Celestic Town to explore the northern end of Route 210. First, we remove the Psyduck that blocked our path earlier, and then Cynthia comes out of nowhere to have us deliver the old charm to her grandma in Celestic Town. Kind of feels like she's been stalking us, but I guess if I could pick anyone in the entire Pokemon series to do so, I suppose Cynthia isn't too bad. I guess the old charm is a way for Game Freak to ensure we talk to her grandmother, which would basically make it impossible to skip over the HM for Surf, so I get why they had to choose to do it this way. Moving on to the actual route now, and this one sucks a lot. The entrance to the northern end has a couple of simple item pickups, such as a couple of Hyper Potions and some Pokeballs, and there are a few trainers here that are not very threatening or interesting. However, once you enter the goddamn fog, oh boy is your life about to become miserable. Fog is somewhat of a pseudo weather condition in this game, which will reduce the accuracy of all Pokemon in battles by, I believe, 15% if I'm not mistaken. Someone fact check me on that just to be safe. There are a couple of recommendations I do have to get around this. You could bring an HM slave that can learn both Defog and Rock Smash if you can. Defog to remove the fog obviously, and Rock Smash to pick up the TM for Shadow Ball. Option number 2 would be to utilize moves that can't miss as much as possible, such as Aerial Ace, Magical Leaf, Swift, and Shockwave. This will make things a tad less painful, although still pretty painful. I am personally going to go with option number 2 in this case, as the trainers on this route are insanely tough, even without the presence of fog. And I really want to have somewhat of a full team if I can help it, and I still need to level up Gallade, which in hindsight, maybe I should have done so before entering this route. This place is packed with ace trainers and other deadly threats. The double battle against Zach and Jen is particularly scary, and we not only almost lost a team member or two in this fight, but we could have potentially lost the whole attempt right here. The Raichu has Thunderbolt, and the Gyarados has Aqua Tail and Ice Fang. It really made me realize that the majority of the team is weak to electric type attacks, and outside of our underleveled Gallade and his Earthquake, we don't have a response to that typing either. We'll have to make note of that for later. But yeah, this fight is really tough, and it took forever with all the missed attacks. And it's completely avoidable, and I suggest you do just that. And the other trainers on this route are no picnic either. Ace Trainer Ernest has a wicked team, and while that Luxio doesn't necessarily look too scary, it likes to spam double team, making it even more difficult to get through the accuracy issues that the fog already instills. Black Belt Adam's Machoke might have counter if I'm not mistaken. Veteran Brian's Tangela is a real pain in the ass with Ingrain and Giga Drain. Definitely don't underestimate that one either. The whole route just sucks, but luckily we have finally made it over to the other side. At least we are rewarded with some pretty nice berries for getting through all that. Great, I guess. And finally, we reach Celestic Town. First things first, we battle a clown in the Pokemon Center, which is a thing I forgot you could do. Mr. Mime is pretty annoying, honestly, with Substitute, Screens, and Psybeam. Not too much of an issue for us, though. I just thought it was funny that you could battle a clown in the middle of a Pokemon Center. Let's move on to the items, and oh my god, for how small this town is, there are some insanely good items to acquire here. We'll start with the Dragon Fang, which will increase the damage of Dragon type moves by 20%. Type boosting items are always nice, even if Dragon is a bit more rare for a move typing. There's a hidden King's Rock over on the ledge here, which will give the holder a 10% chance to flinch on every attack. This does work with multi-strike attacks as well in this generation, giving moves like Bullet Seed and Fury Swipes a greater chance of flinching with this item. And now, we have this wonderful man inside the town's general store. This guy will give the player 3 pairs of glasses, 1 pair for each time of day. During the middle of the day, he will provide the player with a pair of black glasses, which will increase the damage of dark type moves by 20%. Very nice. At night, he will give you the Wise Glasses, which will boost the Pokemon special attack by 10%. Not as useful, but hey, that's still something. And finally, if you talk to him between the hours of 4 AM and 10 AM, this guy will give you the best possible item that you can obtain before the post-game: choice specs. It is quite baffling to me to this day that an item at this power level will be available halfway through a playthrough. 50% extra damage on the special attack is utterly broken on so many levels. And you know what? I'm not gonna use it. I've got a taste of what this thing is capable of in my previous run, and it basically trivialized several boss fights and basically allowed me to crush most of the random trainers as well. If this is your first Nuzlocke, or at least your first time playing Platinum, I would obviously highly recommend this item. You would be foolish not to utilize its extreme power. But for me personally, I just think it takes too much away from what I enjoy about the game. Maybe I'll use it in a future playthrough where my options are much more restricted, but for a challenge like this, where I have so much to play around with, I think I can skip it. I know some of you are cringing in the comments right now, but I just had to do it. After becoming the first player in the history of Pokemon to trash their choice specs, I head over to the ancient ruins in town to deal with Team Psychopaths. After dealing with the grunt out front, we head into the cave to get a little lesson on the history of the Pokemon universe. And then Cyrus shows up to battle us for the first time. Do not take this fight lightly. Make sure your Pokemon are healed up and the appropriate held items are equipped. He might not look like much right now, but his team is full of sleepers. His Sneasel has Ice Punch, which will hurt like hell against the right target. The Golbat is just fairly annoying like most Golbats are, but probably his easiest to deal with. And then we have his Murkrow, which I did not know had Drill Peck and Nightshade. We don't have a good answer to flying types outside of our Drifblim's Shockwave, and for that I am kicking myself so hard right now for not taking the time to farm up some Thunderbolts and Ice Beams. This Murkrow wreaked havoc on my team, forcing me to awkwardly switch around several times until I landed on Drifblim again with the Reflect Up from Bronzong. Unfortunately, this Murkrow does not care about no Reflect, and our balloon friend deflates in front of us. The only reason this happened was because our team overall is constructed poorly in some spots and not leveled up completely in others. I need to get this Gallade up to speed now. I can't be pushing forward without him anymore. After the fight ends, Cynthia's grandmother gives us the HM for Surf, which is yet another incredible pickup. And with that, we are now done with Celestic Town. Not exactly how I anticipated our trip here, but I guess I got a little overconfident in the team. I'm taking our Wingull out of the box for now as our flyer for the time being. We'll reevaluate the team after the next few encounters. With the HM for Surf now in hand, there is a lot of backtracking we can do to access some of the items and areas that were previously unavailable. Starting where it all began, our hometown of Twinleaf is weirdly home to a hidden odd keystone, which you'll need if you plan on using Spiritomb in your run. Although I guess this is the second time you get one? That's strange, I suppose. Not sure why you would need 2 Spiritomb, but alright. Over on Route 204 you can grab an HP up, and a Sea Incense, which I believe just increases your water damage by 20%. Within the Ravaged Path to the north, you can grab a Luck Incense, and the TM for Water Pulse. The Luck Incense is basically just the Amulet coin, and Water Pulse is fine I guess, but I mean we have Surf at this point. And then over by the Valley Windworks, we can also grab a Max Elixir, and Electrolyzer, which is used to evolve Electabuzz into Electivire if you're playing with trade evolutions, and the TM for Thunderbolt, which is always awesome. Moving on to Eterna City, we can grab a hidden moonstone in the northeast corner of the town. On Route 209, you can grab the TM for Giga Drain, which is a personal favorite of mine. Now on Route 214, we can pick up a rare candy, In Pastoria, we've got the Mystic Water, same thing as the Sea Incense, it just increases water damage. On Route 212 in the northern section, we can grab the Rose Incense, which will boost grass type attacks by 20%. Jesus, there are so many of these type boosting items in this generation, and you can obtain a Lumberry in this area as well. Really cool. Now, in the southern part of Route 212, you can get the TM for Poison Jab and a Max Ether. A big chunk of Route 213 now opens up as well, with some pretty challenging trainer battles, including a swimmer with 3 Gyarados, so watch out for that. You can grab yourself some hidden big pearls for some extra cash, and a Waterstone if you needed another one for some reason. And finally, we have Fuego Ironworks and the area of Floroma Meadow that we did not have access to before. Let's start with Fuego Ironworks. This place can be accessed from Route 204 by surfing along this little river. This is a totally optional area, but there are some nice items here to grab if you want them. Before we get those though, let's pick up our next encounter in the grass patch outside. And it's a Magmar. Magmar has always been a fairly average Pokemon for the most part, mostly due to its poor move pool diversity. But it's fast, it hits pretty hard as a mixed attacker, and gets every conceivable fire move available via level up. And its value is definitely boosted a bit in this generation specifically, where fire types are much more rare and useful simultaneously. If you didn't go with Chimchar as your starter, Magmar is totally worth it, and that's even if you don't evolve it. Now if you do allow for trait evolutions, Magmortar is just fantastic. Better stats obviously, but the real improvement comes with the addition of a bunch of excellent coverage options that Magmar was lacking. Earthquake, Thunderbolt, and Psychic are just a few. It does suck that it loses some speed with its evolution, but it's definitely made up for in other ways. Now let's move on to the items. There's a berry patch right outside the building, most notably a citrus berry of course, and moving inside we can pick up a variety of pickups along the lines of shards and vitamins. You can grab another Firestone if you need it, although now that I'm thinking about it, a second Firestone may actually be completely useless. Flareon is the only one I can think of right now off the top of my head that would need this. Well, I don't know, maybe there's something in the post game I'm just not thinking about. Moving on, we can pick up a Rock Incense which boosts rock type moves by 20%, and finally, once we reach Mr. Fuego himself, we can grab the TM for Flamethrower, and he'll give us a star piece as well. Star pieces can be turned into Mr. Fuego on future visits, and in exchange he'll give you a shard of every color. Not bad. But the annoying part here is that you'll have to go through the entire spin puzzle maze in order to get back to him. And unfortunately, that also includes right now, like right after you get the star piece from him. I tried talking to him again, but he just won't take it, so I'm assuming I have to go back outside, come back in, do the whole thing over again, and then turn it in. And that's it for Fuego Ironworks. A neat little area tucked away in the deepest areas of a random route. I really enjoy finding places like this in Pokemon games, even if there aren't any story-related elements. We are now going to cross the river right outside of the Ironworks and go through Floroma Meadow's back door. Another really cool secret area that you can see from the other side so much earlier in the game. Not too much to do here other than to pick up a few items lying around. Be sure to use your item finder app on your Pokédex. There's a ton of hidden stuff lying around. In addition to the hidden honey, you can find a Miracle Seed, which will boost grass type moves, another Leaf Stone, I have no idea why you would need another one, but here you go, a Max Revive for some extra cash, a rare candy, a PP up somewhere in the middle of the meadow, I can't find it right now though for some reason, but I swear it's there, trust me. And that's pretty much it. Now that we're done with Floroma Meadow, you're probably thinking we're done with the optional routes that we can access now with Surf. Well, you would be wrong. There's even more to cover down to the south, starting in Sandgem Town. We've got 3 additional routes to cover before we head over to Canalave City. Routes that are probably often forgotten about considering they are optional. Starting on Route 219, we can pick up another encounter in Tentacool. It was either this or Finneon, and yeah, I'll take the tried and true over the painfully average. Tentacruel doesn't need much of an analysis. It's an insanely fast water type with great bulk on the special side. It can get cool coverage options like Giga Drain, so it's pretty flexible as well. And that's it for Route 219. A couple of trainers on this route are very underwhelming, and there aren't really any useful pickups apart from the hidden sink on this little island. Moving on to Route 220, we could once again get another encounter, but it would be Finneon this time, which again is not very impressive. Luminion doesn't do anything special that would separate it from the other much better water types. It can get Storm Drain as an ability though, which can be useful if you desperately need to pivot against an incoming water attack, but if that's all it can be used for, then I don't think it's worth it. If you're running low on strategic sacrifices, then go for it. For items, we've got the Splash Plate, which will increase the damage of your water type attacks by 20%. I'm getting really tired of saying that, but it's pretty awesome that there are so many of these in the game. And we've got a Carbos for some extra speed EVs. And for the battles, just watch out for Swimmer Eric's Tentacruel and Claire's Floatzel. And now we have finally reached the final optional route at the end of this chain, Route 221. We'll start with the encounter again, and this time it's a Sudowoodo. This is one of those Pokemon that I wish was given a little bit more love when it was originally introduced. Stats are okay, abilities are fine, but the Mimic gimmick just doesn't work well in my experience. It takes a bit too long to set up in most scenarios, and so its use is very niche. Otherwise, it's just an average rock-type Pokemon, which are very useful in the earlier stages of your playthrough, but not typically this late into the game. Regarding the battles on this route, you'll want to watch out for the ace trainers as usual. Jake in particular looks quite scary. And finally, let's go over the items, and there are a few big ones to go over. Outside of your typical berries and vitamins, you can pick up the TM for X-Scissor, the best bug type move you could ask for in this generation, and there are a few held items that can be obtained from the old man within this house. This house is special, and it operates similarly to how we obtained the choice specs back in Celestic Town. This man will offer 3 rewards to the player in total, granting the player one after the other each time they complete the old man's request. His request is to show him a Pokemon of a specific level, which can range anywhere between level 1 and 100. Now this sounds pretty difficult and annoying and just straight up inconsistent, but luckily there is a way to easily get around this. By changing the day on your device, whether on handheld or through your computer if you're emulating, the old man will ask for a different level. Eventually you will get the level that you need, and then you can grab your rewards. You will have to do this each time, so try to have all 6 of your Pokemon at different levels if you can to increase your odds of getting the level that you need. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but what are the rewards we get out of this? The first time you complete his request, he'll give you a Black Belt, which will increase the damage of fighting type moves by 20%. God, it just never ends. The second time you complete the request, you'll receive an Expert Belt, which will increase the damage of super effective attacks by 20%. And last, but definitely not least, with the third time you complete the old man's request, you will be rewarded with a Battle Tower item, the Focus Sash. A Focus Sash is a one-time use item that basically gives your Pokemon the ability Sturdy in addition to its other ability. An item that prevents death is certainly something you'd want to utilize in a challenge like this, and it opens up so many doors that could have otherwise remained closed. Now, unlike the other guy who hands out the choice specs, you can actually obtain each of these rewards from the old man as many times as you like. Once you get your first Focus Sash, you can keep fulfilling his requests and continue to get as many of these items as you want in the order that you obtain them. It is a bit of a slog since you can't easily fly back here, and you'll have to start back at the Black Belt and the Expert Belt first before you get the Focus Sash again. But just the fact that there's a way to farm Focus Sashes before the post game is so incredible. And with that, this episode is now over. No boss fights today, but there were just so many optional routes that I believe were worth covering before we moved on. I hope you found these tips helpful. In the next episode, we've got a very challenging rival fight as we enter Canalave City, we've got Iron Island to explore, and then hopefully we'll cap it off with our fight for badge number 6. In the meantime, as usual, please like the video if you liked it, and subscribe for more content like this. That's it from me. I'll see you next time.